Funding for the restoration and preservation of this program was provided by the UCLA Office of Instructional Development.
Like darling, shouts my body and shouts itself transparent.
Very nice. seems very obvious that are interested in the humanness of movement, the human being related to movement. You seem to place a great deal of emphasis on sensitivity and the importance of this in music and in your movement and dance as a whole. Again and again, you talk about the importance of us learning to see and learning to hear, in being able to do both of these together. You really present many ideas that are stimulating and lend themselves to much thought. I'd like to ask you one question in connection with all of this. What are you really trying to do? What are you especially interested in doing as an artist today?
I guess I've always been sad at the thought that the lovely adventure and excitement that making art and performing art was trivial, and that it was on the periphery of the widest human experience. And I suspect that art has always been used previously in the history of the world as part of how people knew themselves and their life and their whole human experience and knew the world, and really how they related to the world. And so it's always been very exciting for me to see the Indians down, the Hopis, say, down in Arizona, use the dance as part of their whole ritual way of relating to all of their experience. And so I suppose that for me, as I grew up and wanted to start fulfilling the whole possibility of dance, and then in theater, it was to find a way whereby it was really good enough. And I suspect that really what would be the nicest thing that anybody could do for another is to help him come to his full development. Education in the big sense of the word is something the way Plato spoke of, simply that men fulfill their potential, that they became what they are. And so any art that plays to the small side of an audience's, all the individuals in an audience, I'm afraid just isn't worth doing. And we have much more in our human souls, much more capacity than that of just being entertained on the trivial level. So I suppose it's really as though the theater was a way whereby the community, all the people who make up a society, learn to grow up and become mature. I consider myself just about the most fortunate choreographer there is today to have the beautiful collaboration with Lucia Drugashevsky, who is choosing to work in the theater to find a totally new music of the greatest vitality. You know, one of our great tendencies today is to very easily succumb to the mechanism of the machine. And so the whole development in electronic music that has been used with dancing, I don't like at all, for a very good reason, that it has removed the performer. And it's as though the part of the great excitement is seeing the human spirit perform the sound right in front of your eyes, just as you don't want to see robots dance. You want to see this human being who can stand on the edge of the abyss and yet complete the movement in its vitality. And then, of course, the other aspect of lots of contemporary music that I find just doesn't work with the dance is it has become so conceptual and is really a kind of an intellectual structure and not something that is the immediacy of sound, that the audience could have the immediate experience of listening and watching the dancing at the same time. I think maybe even if I did this one movement, maybe it will show. Because when I do it well, I know that I'm perfectly experiencing myself. It's done several times. But all I could say is that when I do it, I can't do it in my mind. I really have to do it going right into what it feels like right here around the thigh socket and sense that. And even the way I take my fingers back and touch the heel, I actually have to experience it. So that just happens to be a nice passage for me in this.
That's what you mean sometimes when you talk about getting inside of movement, isn't it?
Well, we're all used to, and I think we do it an awful lot in our dancing, that we have the image and the diagram of the movement, and our willpower can drive us into it. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm exploring is a way whereby, yes, the movement has perfect virtuosity, but that one is sensing it instant by instant. Dance movement can be used in and for its own sake, for its sheer beauty. Not for its trickiness, but for its poetry and for its deep human aliveness. In and for its own sake. But then, of course, at the drop of a hat, you could take the dance movement and use it at the service of an idea of something that was not literally happening on the stage. You might call it representational in a way, but not necessarily just representation. It might be a metaphor. It might suggest something else.
Or a comment on.
Or a comment on something. It might be fairly undefined, or it might be a very specific action. There is a solo that I do called Clown is Everyone's Ending. That I'm not actually myself as I'm dancing a clown. I am using the movements of the dance to represent a clown. And the clown, of course, is every one of us when we feel crazy and unloved and yet want to love. I think dance is the most beautiful metaphor of existence. It's a way, I think, of pinpointing one's own sense of being alive. The dance has to summon up every instant of energy the minute that curtain is up. And so there can be just no let-up of that skill, the sensitivity. But why I think that dance, maybe of all the arts, it sort of uses the total combination of the intelligence, the emotional maturity, the sensibility, and then, perhaps more completely than any of the other arts, uses this beautiful carcass that the human body is, and doesn't deny it in any way. And so the very way that in the dancing one can sense it instant by instant, I think is a beautiful metaphor of what it would be like to be alive. So one was not living in the past or the future, because when we do that, we're not in the here and now.
Funding for the restoration and preservation of this program was provided by the UCLA Office of Instructional Development.